Marty Leum is in the house. First of all, welcome to my office. I never thought we'd be filming in here. I've done a lot of editing, but it's kind of actually a really good little studio. So I think this is going to work out good.
Absolutely. It's awesome. I was blown away when I got here. I was full of questions. How did this happen? How does it, it's all of it. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a very creative environment. That's kind of what I was going for.
Yep.
When you walk in the door, it's like you want to be in here, you want to be doing work. And so I think as a studio for podcasts or YouTube tutorials or whatever I'm going to be doing in here, it really works well. So for people who don't know, I do video production and editing, and you and I have worked together a ton over the past few years. I've done a lot of capturing your projects from start to finish. We take that and just make a highlight video and show people what you can do. So you kind of came to me with an idea like, hey, why don't we just sit down, just tell people like what we do and what we've learned throughout the years.
Yeah.
We're just small businesses that love what we do and can probably provide a lot of value by just telling our stories. So, so here we are.
Yep.
Kind of talk about like the impact of video, because you've always been like really good on social media with pictures and stuff. But I think once we started doing more video, it was like, it really took off, and some of those clips have, hundreds of thousands of views. Yeah. So what's the response been like? Oh,
it's been awesome. Showing a start to finish of a project and capturing, for instance, this summer we did the baseball field. You start out with a flat field, and then having you there to film and show each step along the way. People, I speak from my own thing. I want to see that. Like I want to look at stuff like that. How is stuff getting built? How is it happening? And to be able to capture the entire process it's intriguing. Same with the park, Mm-hmm. How does a park get built? How does that happen? You go to all these parks and you see the slides and you see all this stuff. Well, you're able to, when you captured us doing it, was every piece of that puzzle. I use your content. Even the first video that you shot for us, for everything, that's what our staple of the business is we like to show that stuff. And it's, like I said, you've attributed to most of our success as being a business just because we go differently than the standard stereotypical contractor. Right. Mm-hmm. And even when you go to some places with me and you do this and that, people today still are like, oh, I don't want to get filmed. Or even you had somebody flip you off once when we were there, and it's like, yeah. Come on. Really? Mm-hmm. It's awesome. So when I do the videos, I just show basically, a part of the process and then the finished product. Yeah. While I might show that, there's a lot more stuff happening behind the scenes. Yeah, I get a lot of people that are applying for jobs and this and that because they see our social media content and the pictures of the finished products and the videos, and everybody's like, man, that's awesome. I want to be a part of that. But reality is it's hard work, and there's way more that goes into it than anybody sees. And some people, when they apply and I talk to them, like in my head, I'm just thinking, this isn't for you. It's not an easy job. The hours are long. You're always dirty. You're in the dirt. But and then in the next breath, people can take that gratification of building something, and it is awesome. At that point, when you do get a finished product and it looks like the way you capture it and everything like that, it makes the project. It's worth it at that point. A lot of jobs can be super thankless, and this one can be too, a lot of times as well. But when you do get that response from the videos and stuff like that, it really makes it worth it. Mm-hmm. It makes it feel like you accomplished something. And I always tell the guys, I say, we got to be proud of what we do every day. You got to be proud, dirty, clean, whatever we're doing. There's good days and bad, but at the end of the day, we're proud of what we do. We're making a difference. For sure. I would think the best part of those projects is seeing the final product. At least for me, it is. On the video side, seeing it on TV, for the first time, or just seeing it get published. Yeah. I always love to see that part. So as I almost look at you as like an artist in a way.
because you kind of take things, especially those finishing touches.
Yeah.
You take it to the next level, and I would think seeing that is just it's awesome, right?
I try to do that, and I try to ingrain that into the guys too. Let's take that extra half hour and really put our own cap on this and make this ours on each project. I don't care what we're doing. Let's make every project look good, and we can be proud of it when we leave. Yeah, and that's what we try to do. I try to think of ways that we can make dirt look good in a sense, or we can make a project that, a lot of times in the dirt world, it can be stereotyped as we can be grumpy, these guys that are almost unapproachable. And I want to change that to, it doesn't need to be like that. You can be proud of we're working in the dirt every day. I don't care if we're laying pipe. It's what we do. So
you're into your second full year under Dirt Monkey Excavating, but let's go back a little bit. So how did you get started in this?
My dad worked at Vermeer as a salesman, my whole life. So I've been around heavy equipment. That's trenchers and things like that. I was into dirt bike racing. I made it to professional and dirt bikes, and I did that deal for quite a lot of years. And how it really started out is I was traveling to these races on the weekends, indoor events, and I was just there because I was living out of my van, going to all these events to race. And I would just go in the stadium and I'd be like, what can I do to help? What can I do? I could use a little extra money each week, and you can start off, you can throw the hay bales, put them on the track, or hang banners and this and that. And I'm like, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do that. So I started doing that, and it snowballed into me helping out a little bit on the track, getting in a piece of equipment, whatever. And then I started up with was my best friend at the time, and we started building racetracks, and we built them all around the world. It was a niche. There wasn't a lot of people doing them, and we traveled everywhere, and that's what we did. Stadiums, outdoors. We were in Australia. We went all over doing this, and we did it for 10 years. And I loved it. The downsides of it is it's constant living out of a suitcase. It's grueling in that aspect, and the same thing as people see the finished products, but they don't see the grind that goes into it and what goes into this, and the overnights and the nonstop work, and running any piece of equipment that you're throwing at just to get the job done. So in 2011, we kind of had a conflict of interest and split ways. And they said to me, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I hate when people tell me I can't do something. So I didn't know what I was going to do, to be honest with you. I had no idea. So I started thinking about jobs, because then I was at square one again, basically like I was out of high school, but I was already 30 years old, or I forgot how old I was, 29 or something. I'm like, oh man, I got to figure this out. I got a house, I got bills, I got a wife, I got to support. So I applied at Union Pacific Railroad to be a conductor, and I got the job driving trains. No idea about driving trains, never cared about trains, but it was like, well, you can start out, you can make $100,000 a year, and I'm like, sold. Here we go.
Yeah.
And everybody always said, like, God, you got the lottery job there. You got the, you make over 100,000. You got the benefits. You got the retirement, and you're set. You don't have to worry about anything. So I was doing that. A year into it, I think I went back to school and I became an engineer for that. About 2 years into it, I bought a dump truck and a skid steer. And I'm like, once it's in your blood, I should say, it's just, I love doing it. And it's a passion. So I was doing that on the side. Well, towards the end of the stint on the railroad, about my 5th or 6th year in, I was using up all of my vacation to do side work. All my vacation, all my sick days, and I was almost actually getting in trouble for being gone too much on the railroad, because I was booking a lot of work on the side, and I was just totally consumed with that, and it was kind of, it's what I wanted to do, really. And 2 years ago, I made the decision about halfway through the year. I said, that's it. I'm pulling the plug from the dream job here, and I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm going to have an excavating business. In my eyes at that time, I thought an excavating business will be easy because I've went all around the world. I've operated with the best operators. You know, in your eyes, you're better than everybody, right? Locally. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that, but that couldn't be more far from the truth. But so I quit, and I had a dump truck, a single axle dump truck that the power steering pump was gone. It was going to cost more money to fix that than it was worth. So I ended up selling that. So at that point, I had a pickup and a trailer, and I'm like, man, I had no money in savings. It was a huge, huge risk on my end. And I had little kids at home at that time, and I'm like, you know, the pressure couldn't be any stronger for myself to figure it out. And when I was traveling around, when we were traveling, we would rent Caterpillar equipment. We'd have a national account, and we just rent in every city. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go talk to my Caterpillar agent or rental guy, and I need to figure this out. So how I started out was I just started renting the pieces that I needed to do the work. You know, all I had was my skid steer, and I was taking any work when I first started that I could get. I had some decent contacts. I'm not saying that. I already had built up some stuff from my side work, so it wasn't like I was totally blind into it. I think one of the first projects I did was a bicycle park for a municipality, and then that I was helped out on, and then I got asked. They asked, "Can you do a baseball field?" I'm like, "Yep."
It's flat. Should be easy.
Yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
You know, I'll figure it out. I never played baseball. You know, I never had much interest in any of the stick and ball sports, but I'm like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And then they asked, can you do a beaches? And I'm like, absolutely. What are we gonna do? Where do we start? Let me, you know, and things kind of just snowballed, and you know, my first half year of business went really good. I had an employee, you know, after I quit there, and I made it to the winter. So we were optimistic at that point. Right now, we're at our first full year in. So last winter, when I was done, I had no work lined up in for next year. So you got that weight of winter just to sit and think. And I'm like, man, I need to really figure this out. So I started bidding a lot of work, anything and everything I would bid it. And we started out with, I got awarded a bid for a big playground from scratch to start. We got a baseball field from scratch. We got some projects, and it sounds like everything is easy, especially with the videos, but it was so hard. It was never ending, no sleep, and just trying to figure it out because I had no idea. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd move dirt. I'm an operator. I can grade really good with a dozer. And I'm not bragging. I'm not saying anything like that. I can. Without GPS, I don't know the GPS system. So I'm just a blade hand, essentially. But and learning the business side of things has really been an eye-opener for me. And, yeah, I'd like to, you know, we're full steam ahead right now.
So there's a lot in there I want to go back to.
Yeah.
But the thing kind of that stuck out with me is, like you said, you had this really nice job with the railroad, benefits, all that. What was that process like, making that jump to start your own business when, like, you know, because you really risked a lot, you know, leaving that, especially with, you said kids were there on the way.
They're there.
Like, that was a huge risk. So,
and everybody told me not to. Why would you quit the railroad, right? You know, it's like a trap. You got benefits, you got insurance. retirement, you're set, you're making more than 80% of people that are in your area, or even more than that probably. But I don't know. It was a come to Jesus moment, or whatever you want to say. It was just like I look back on that, and it was probably the most depressing time of my life, and it has nothing to do with the railroad or any of that. It just wasn't for me, and I knew it. And I said, I gotta pursue this. And I always say, people always say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, it's easy to say that, right? Until you're the one in the game doing it, right? Mm-hmm. It's always easy to be a critic and tell somebody like, you should have done this, and if I fail at excavating, well, we knew you were going to fail at that, right? It's easy for somebody to always come back, but when you're in the driver's seat, it's a different story making those decisions.
Did you have to get to a certain point? Like, did you save enough money to like, okay, I'm going to do this for 6 months, and then if it fails, I'll go back to it? Or was it like, I'm all in?
Yeah. No.
What was that process like?
I wish I would have saved money.
Yeah.
I was frivolous with my money on the railroad, and I bought a lot of stuff, and you're kind of, there is no plan B. There hasn't been since I started. I'm all in, and that's what has kind of cost me on a couple of the jobs, or some of the jobs I do, because I say yes to everything, and it's a hurdle, it's a downfall. But you just don't want to fail. So you want to take all the work you can get, and you don't want to disappoint anyone. So you want to try to do as much. And that's what caused, like, we would work crazy hours, and we still do. I'm trying to do my best to manage that. And we're restructuring a lot over this winter to be able to manage that better. But there's never been well, if I don't make it, I'll go back to the railroad. That's never crossed my mind whatsoever, and it hasn't ever been anything. It said, I'm done. I'm going to do this. That's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. If I don't make it, I don't make it. I guess I'm going to do something else, Mm-hmm. So
where do you kind of get that can-do attitude, like just bring it on? Because is it from like dirt bike racing, that tenacity, or like?
Yeah. I don't know. You grow up thinking that if Bill Gates puts his pants on the same way I do, and I always think that about most all projects, and I get grief all the time. They're like, well, you can't do that. Well, why can't I do that? Whoever's doing it's doing it. Why can't we do it? Mm-hmm. We might not be the best at it right away, but I'll learn. I'll figure it out. And what I think is like, if we're people are always like, well, you don't want to open yourself up to business or explain yourself to doing all this. And to me, it's like winning in dirt bikes, or it's winning in mountain bike racing, or whatever I used to do. You get out of it what you put into it. If you want to be good and be on top, you need to remain, and you can't get complacent. Mm-hmm. You got to want it, and you got to want it every day. And I don't know how to tell somebody. I get these questions all the time. I'm like, how should I get started? What should I do? And I just want to say, you need to work harder than everybody else. And I'm not saying that that's right. That's the only way I know how to do it. You need to sleep less and work harder. And people will say, oh my, don't listen to him. He's way off. I don't know another way. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, they say, you never grow if you're, inside your comfort zone.
Right.
So I'm kind of the same way. There's a lot of projects I've taken on. I had no idea how to even begin or start, but yeah. I think it's in those moments where, I was watching some Kobe Bryant videos a few months ago, some motivational videos,
yeah.
and he's like, I don't want to take on projects that we know we can do. I want to do the projects that I think we know we can do. Yeah. And he's like, and in that process is where we're going to be our best. So I'm kind of the same way. Like the TV shows and stuff I've done, like I don't know how to deliver a broadcast version of a show to NBC or Fox or whoever, but you figure it out, and yeah. It's part of the process, and now it's no big deal. But if I would have been like, no, I can't do it, like, I would have had so much regret. So it's like, you got to take these projects on that might not be in your wheelhouse, but if you do it, you're going to grow so much.
Well, if you wouldn't have done it, somebody else would have.
Yeah.
stuff's going to get done. It's going to happen. Projects are going to get finished. And in your industry, you know, I'm as green as it gets. But I know that the videos that I watch on TV didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much time and effort that goes, and people don't see that, and they just don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And it is. I think that everybody should be a little bit more transparent. And same with like kids today when they're coming up. You know, our kids are so superficial, and they see and they want, but you got to work for it. It takes so much time to do all this, and your videos on TV that are for Supercross or whatever. I mean, that's countless hours. I mean, I'm just in my head, I'm thinking, and I don't know, maybe you can clarify on that, what it all goes into it, but I know a lot does.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the last preview show I did about 2 months ago, I recorded the whole process from my end, behind the scenes, and hopefully it comes out soon. But yeah, I kind of just gave everyone a peek behind the curtain. I'm like, this is how I got to go about this. I've got 2 hours of interviews I got to dig through just for this one little clip that'll maybe end up being 10 seconds. And multiply that times, you know, that's 45 minutes of show. Mm-hmm. So you've got this just insane amount of footage you got to dig through. And, you know, I feel like I'm pretty fast and efficient working, but there's no getting around the amount of hours it takes to produce something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, for me, as I get older doing this, it's like I got to figure out how to be at my best every day. We're in like college and stuff where you don't have, you know, too much responsibility.
Yeah.
You don't have kids that are going to wake up every morning at the same time early. I kind of had to figure out, okay, how can I mentally be my best so I can keep this, you know, this amount of workload through to the end. So that was kind of a big process for me when I did this last show. Is just, you know, for me, I was like, I'd get up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, work until the kids got up at 7 a.m., hang out with them, get them off to school, and then work all day until 5. And I don't think I worked a single, maybe a couple, but nights. But for the most part, I was doing all my work so early in the morning that I could hang out with my kids. And I'm not a morning person, so that was like a huge adjustment. But yeah, you just kind of got to figure out how to make, you know, there's no shortcuts from the work, so you just got to figure out how to make it work. Yeah. So yeah, it was that video will be cool to see, because it was just like I had cameras rolling in here, and I was just walking through the whole step.
What it takes. And what goes on. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think it's great for people to see that and to understand that. And, you know, we get it. You get it. I want to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's every day. And it's like, well, you know, what do you say to that? You're seeing the outside, but you need to come on the inside, you know. And I'd like to explain more in depth on what each day is not now or anything, but just to give people a better understanding of what goes on, or you know, because it's all of it's work, and it's a lot of work. So
yeah, because even when you got here, you were on the phone.
Yeah,
and that was what was a driveway and
pads of storage unit pads.
And like you'd think that'd be, you know, a fairly simple, let's call it, project, but you had, I mean, I could overhear it, and it was like, man, there's a lot of moving parts just to do that, you know?
Oh yeah, and it's all the projects. Like I said, I was an operator. I honed that skill in operating all pieces of equipment, all of them, and business is a million times different. When I was bidding these jobs last year in the winter, I've never even seen a set of blueprints. All of a sudden, I'm going in this thing and I'm just studying these blueprints on my own. And like, I got to figure this out. I got to know what all this is, and I got to learn this. And it's so hard. It wasn't nearly what I expected, and it was way more in depth. And I'm no expert. You know, I do my best, and I sit and study, and I try to figure it out, and I do what I think is right there. But yeah, it's crazy what goes into it.
So you're in your second full year as dirtmonkeyexcavating.com. How has the growth been? And you're not like a multi-billion-dollar company. No. So kind of talk about that.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of some podcasts, not a lot, but I listen to Andy Frisella, Aaron Witt. I love his content. Keaton Turner. These guys are all, well, they're making stuff happen. And they always, they talk about, the people that are talking are guys that have big companies that have made it. But I think it's something to talk about, of the guys that are still in the trenches, and we're all still in the trenches no matter where we're at. But our goal this year was to make $1 million, right? It's a small goal in a excavating world, and we came up a little bit short, but we're almost there. And to me, though, that growth right there was just, you get kind of an attitude like, we're all in, right? We're going to go through these struggles and we're going to embrace them, because every day is a struggle at this. And building a business and growing a business is way more harder than I ever would imagine ever. And I've talked to a lot of people. I talked to Small Business Association and these different places, like, how do I grow my business? How? There's no tips, there's tips, and there's people say you got to do this, and this, and you read all these motivational things. Don't give up, keep going. And it's like, well, what if you can't? What if you're out of money? It's just crazy. You got to strategically do it, and it's more than just keeping going. You got to have a plan, and you got to have goals in place, and you got to understand where you're looking to go and what you're looking to do, and that's what we're trying to do, and we're getting a lot better at. And our first full year, we accomplished more than I ever could have imagined with projects and getting these projects completed. And I can't wait to build and grow this year forward. We want to grow. We want to remain doing projects. I want to be able to pick and choose some of my projects. I like doing projects that make a difference in communities, and that's what I like to do. You beat your own drum. You want to do what you want to do. I don't want to just be the guy digging basements or the guy laying pipe. I like doing different things. I painted my equipment red. Just you be you. You be you. Do what you're going to do. And I think me and you are both really good at that. We kind of stand out. I'm not, just being different. Mm-hmm. Your content and what you do is bar none. You know where you're at. Yep. Whether who's gonna, you told me once you had people copying you in grade school in art class, right? And you set yourself where you want to be, and you got to remain there to keep going forward, and that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's such an important part of it is approaching each project and just figuring out how to make this one unique and special, mm-hmm. and whether it's video or doing a driveway or a beach, and that's the cool thing about your business is, like you said, you're painted red, bulldozers and skid steers. Like that's what people remember.
Right. And people, I get grief all the time. Why would you paint why would you waste your money doing that? Well, you're asking me right now why I wasted my money doing that after you must have looked at it.
Right.
You're thinking about it. Why are you wasting time thinking about what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And that goes, I just bought a couple crew trucks for my employees. And, trucks ain't going to make you any money. And, I get that. And it's like, they're going to make me all the money. If I don't have employees that are happy to come to work with me every day, then I don't have a business. We don't have anything at that point. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to figure these things out. And I do listen for advice on that stuff. And because I didn't know any of it. And for hiring people down the road, I get people asking questions all the time about working with me. And one of my biggest downfalls is I'm not the best trainer. I just don't have the patience, and I'll admit it, and I have to work on it. But we need people, and that's, I have to work through it. It's something that I have to work through if I want to continue to grow the business. So mm-hmm. There's so many different aspects that go into day-to-day running a business. It's crazy.
Yeah. You've learned to, you can't do everything on your own. So you had to go out and hire people to help you get the job done. So mm-hmm. What has that process been like, not being so hands-on with everything because you're not moving every, inch of dirt. You have other people doing it.
Well, I'll say a couple things. First thing I'll say is it's been expensive. I've yet to pay myself with this business, but I'm optimistic and believe that'll come. And I know that I can't grow unless I have solid employees, which I have a few now that I can trust. And it's hard because you put them on a job and maybe they don't do it like you think or you want them to do it. But I have to trust them. And that's the biggest thing. I need to trust them, and I need to let them make their own decisions and how they want to do it. And you can do a job so many different ways if we're digging a basement or whatever. There's no perfect way to do it. There's many ways. So I've been trying to get a lot more forgiving on that aspect and just trying to not be so picky on the small things and look at the bigger picture.
Right. So with all that being said, what are some of the goals and like what's the vision moving forward?
Well, we're gonna continue to grow. The throttle's wide open. I've been bidding a lot again, and we're gonna do bigger scope projects. And these projects that we bid on, it's last year when we bid a few of them, the risk is big enough where I'll lose my business. And that's what a lot of people don't understand too. You go into these and people are like, who's this guy? And you bid something for a couple $100,000 and I don't got any money to cover that. I have to do that job. And I get, and where I've had to get bonding or whatever to do the jobs. And we've been able to do them, and we figure it out, and we get them done, and that's what we're going to continue to do. My main focus is building my team. I'm gonna build a team, and we're gonna keep doing projects, and hopefully I'll be able to separate what I want to do and what we have to do to keep the wheels going. We want to do a lot of commercial work, but we do need to sprinkle in residential work to make the cash flow maintain, and that's just a fact of it. I mean, there's no sugarcoating. I don't have any line of credit. I don't have any, which I should. I just didn't. Why would anybody give me a line of credit going into my first year? They don't even know me. And so I got to do these jobs that are going to pay when I finish them to be able to do the big jobs. And there was times this year when we were going and I was putting checks in Thursday night to make payroll Friday. And nobody sees that side of it, how stressful that is. And you have people depending on you and other families depending on you. And I'm just up all night trying to figure out how I'm going to make this work and what I'm going to do to we just got this big bid, and how are you going to get this done? Right? I don't have $100,000 in the bank to cash flow this whole project, but we have to do it. This is how we're going to have to do it. And by completing them has made it a lot easier for me and pushing forward. And this year I have a lot better understanding on what we need to do. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to build a team and tackle these projects and keep going. I don't want to measure success by dollar amounts. I want to do projects, and I like doing projects and that make a difference, like I said before, for the community or stuff. And I feel the money will come doing that stuff and remaining true to myself and what we're doing. And that's what we're going to do.
I talked to you this summer. I was like, well, how are things going? He's like, well, it'd be good if I could get paid for this project I completed months ago. Getting payment sometimes is the hardest part.
You won't believe the amount of excuses I've heard where that checkbook's at. It's never on site when the job's done. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's in every place except for in the truck signing or writing me a check. And I laugh about it sometimes, but sometimes it can be so frustrating waiting and being essentially we have to be a bank. So I need to plan ahead. And this summer, I've been working with somebody this winter to for cash flow projections, just to understand that. I have no idea. Like, I'm just out there winging it, just hoping we got to get paid from this. But I need, there's more to it than that. And, last year I got kicked so many times for paying taxes, with employees, and these tax bills would come twice a month, and I'm like, they're getting automatically withdrawal, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, why is this so much money? I don't see this. So, there's so much that we've learned, and I'm really excited to go forward, gathering that knowledge to build on it, to keep going
Yeah. So it's almost like you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
all the time. You bid jobs, the jobs get bigger, the dollar amounts get bigger, but you need to be confident. You need to know yourself that you can complete this project, and you got to follow through with it. And that's one thing. It's easy to talk about doing these big projects, or you should have done that job like that, or this, and it's like you run into weather, you run into everything that you wouldn't think of, and you got to work through it. I always, when I was in like halfway through the year, I said my only job is just coming up with solutions.
Yeah.
That's my job. Like every day I get calls and it's something's going wrong, and you just need to have a solution, and it might not be the right solution, but you got to make a call to move forward. So yeah, I lost some years. I got a lot more gray hair now. I got bad crow's feet too. It's really getting me.
Well, so with that being said, like, is this what you expected? Is it worth it? Is it fulfilling? Like, are you still happy to be doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. I crave it. I feel like maybe I'm a little nuts. I don't know. Because why would maybe I'm a glutton for punishment or whatever they say. Why would somebody want to go through so much failure? You fail every day. You got something, and I screw up, and I'm the first one to admit. That's where I always got to try to tell you. You got to admit to yourself when you screw up, and I tell my employees I apologize to them when I screw up, because I make mistakes all the time because I just don't know. I only can make decisions on what I know. So yeah.
I think some people are comfortable being in that position where they're solving problems all the time. Mm-hmm. Like for me, if I'm not creatively solving problems, like if I don't have like something my mind is working on, like I get bored, I get antsy, and like I have to be doing something just like with my brain. Like it's gotta be working on something all the time. So that's why I think video production and all this stuff is so. That's why I love it. Mm-hmm. It's stressful at times, of course, but I gotta be solving those problems. Mm-hmm. And I would think you're probably the same way in your world.
Yeah. We want to challenge ourselves, right? They say things about being a leader and this and that. I mean, I don't know. I like to have myself. I like to challenge myself. I don't like anybody ever telling me that I can't do something. I'll do everything in my power, whether I fall on the ground 50 times in order to. So, quick story is I 2 years ago, I was still on the railroad. I was getting a shop poured at my land, and pouring concrete, and they were doing the concrete there, and somebody had said, man, you should buy a concrete belt truck, a conveyor truck. That we don't have any of those around here. So I'm like, huh? I went home and I looked at that. I didn't even know what that was. Mm-hmm. No clue. I mean, I'm not in the concrete industry. No clue. But then I started looking at it. I was like, yeah, maybe I could do that and have that running on the side and have my own belt truck business. And I started going to banks saying, hey, I started out the first brand new, they're $564,000. So I'm like, oh. Well, I went there and they laughed at me, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I can't afford that. Let's think of something different. So I went down to a cheaper one, and that was like $150,000, which is still crazy money for me. And I think I got rejected 8 times from banks, and I went through the whole spiel with each bank, all my financials, and everything I do, I put my whole self on the line. Everything. I'll put my house up. I'll put everything I got up for something that I believe in, right? And I ended up getting this thing, and oh my gosh, was it a mistake? but I'm not going to go into detail. But I'm not a concrete guy, and I don't know that industry. It's a great tool. It wasn't a good fit for me, and I ended up being able to sell it for what I bought it for, and I got out of it. But it's something like if somebody says you can't do something, you're like, yeah, I can do that. My problem is sometimes I can be a little impulsive, and somebody's got to be like, pull the reins back. You're not buying a belt truck, dude. Think about this. What are you doing? And but I got rid of it, and it was another learning experience for me. And it just kind of, them are the stepping stones I think it takes. You just need to lay on the ground and get kicked a ton, and it just helps. It just makes you tougher skinned and makes you want more. And I want more.
So one thing I've noticed with your business is you've been really transparent with everything. I mean, obviously we're talking about it right now.
Like I said, I had a guy call a couple weeks ago, and he was wondering how. And we're direct competitors. He's in excavating and he's close to me. And he basically asked me, and I didn't know if it was insulting or not, but he asked me how do I bid these projects, right? And he's been in business for like 30 years, or maybe a family business or whatever it is. And at first I was kind of like, man, why would I tell this guy how to go out and do this, explain it? Because I had no clue, right? But then I was like, if he bids, he bids. Like, if I can help somebody and inspire somebody and they can bid, what I bid is what I bid on a price. Like, you got to remain hungry. The whole thing of that is you got to stay, if we win, we win. If we don't, but you got to be hungry. And that's a beautiful thing with free enterprise. Everybody can go out and do it if they want to do it. I said I would help. I said, yeah, sure. If you need help as an older gentleman. And, I got through the process, and I'm definitely no computer guru, but I train on the things that I need to be good at. I got a hard time getting paper to print, so it's hard for me. But I'd also like to be transparent with kids, and I say this all the time at like high school or something. They get this false thing about you leave school, you're going to make $60,000 doing this job and this and this. And I'd like to, excavating maybe is looked at a dirtier job, or you don't really want to do that. But I don't believe that. And I think we can change that. Our motto in my business is evolving the concept of construction. And I want to show them that you don't need to be an unapproachable, grumpy guy that's stereotypical of walking up on a job site, right, with dozers and stuff like that there. It doesn't need to be like that. And I tell my guys all the time, it's not going to be like that. We joke around. I mean, we know the task at hand. We're not being foolish or anything, but we don't need to have a bad attitude. And I think I wish I could get it through to a lot more excavating companies. It doesn't need to be like that. You don't need to be throwing the stink guys out when there's other guys there. We're all doing this. We're all trying to support our families, and it's what we love to do. Mm-hmm. And we take pride in what we do. So I don't know. That's where I'm at on being transparent about the business and not really scared to tell people. I'm not going to tell exact numbers on what we're bidding, but as far as how to do it and getting into the industry, yeah, let's do it. More the merrier. Here we go.
Yeah. Companies that provide the most value, whether it's online through video or how-tos, mm-hmm, I think those are the companies that win. Yeah. And a lot of my clients, they're doing videos that, maybe for the competition, like they're telling them what they do, but if the customer sees that, it's going to help them. It's going to help them get that sale because now they trust this company. Hey, they're telling us how to do this. So I just think, being open about things like that is huge. And I wish more small businesses would do that. Yeah. And kind of tell their story and just being transparent with everything and provide value.
Right. And this will go with any industry. Everybody's website has an About Me page. And so usually you just glance at the first sentence and you don't pay any attention to it. Nobody cares. But why not do a video snippet or something like that and explain your business to show its value and what you do and what you're about and your values and how you go about business. It's a win-win for everybody in that situation. And like I said, today our society is a visual and audio society, right? Mm-hmm. We listen, we look. We have very short attention spans. Social media has created that, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just how we are. If you sit and you look at your phone or you're scrolling, wasting time, and you're looking at a video, you maybe make it 20 seconds, even if it's good content. Mm-hmm. You do. We're just programmed. That's how we are these days. And I think it's good for other businesses, no matter what their industry is or whatever. Just tell a story about yourself. Tell what you do and why you do it. Why not? Why not explain yourself and be proud of what you do? Because that's your business. You're putting a website up for the sole reason, like you asked me earlier, what do I use my website for? I don't use my website necessarily to get clients at all. I'm proud of what we do. This is what we do. This is what I'm proud of, and I'm going to show it. And I shouldn't be ashamed to show the content we do. Yeah, we take a bunch of hate mail from people that would do it different or this and that, but that doesn't matter to me at all. We do it how we do it, right? And that's why we got it.
Kind of closing, what advice would you give somebody, like, or maybe yourself 10, 15 years ago? What would you tell them if you had that opportunity to go back?
Well, I'd tell myself not to be so arrogant. That's what I'd tell myself.
Yeah.
Don't think you can do everything. But I in the next breath, I don't know if I should say that or not. But, I was, when I started, even with jobs before, I'm a cocky kid. Not even cocky, but in my own head, I'm like, I can do anything, right? I've been operating equipment all around the world with the best operators, the biggest stadiums and all this. I can do anything. Well, believe me, I've been humbled down to about ground zero. I have a lot of people ask me. I had somebody ask me yesterday, wanted to get into starting an excavating business. And I said, well, what are you going to do? He says, I don't know yet. I maybe dig for houses. And it's like, you got to have a plan what you're going to do. Lay it out. What do you want to do? Right? And then from that point on, how are you going to do it? In your head, how are you going to do it? Not anybody else's. Don't let anybody else interject what they would do. How are you going to do it? Because you have to complete the jobs. At the end of the day, you're doing it. Your name's on the line. You have to be proud of it. So you need to see how you're going to do it. So, and work hard. I said it before, and I'll say it every time. There's absolutely no substitute for hard work. None. Anybody that says different is lying. You get out of it what you put into it. If you want to be successful and you want to raise into it, you need to put the time in, and you got to work. Essentially more. In my head, I always think if I'm sitting at home and I'm scrolling through Facebook or something, there's my competitors sitting looking at bids, right? And you can't like consume yourself with it, but you need to be aware. You got to put the time in. Definitely.
I think it's a great way to end this.
Yeah.
So I think that was great, telling your story and just learning about it. Thanks for coming down. And
thanks for having me. We'll maybe if it goes good, we'll try to interject something else, or maybe get somebody else in the hot seat.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd like to hear other stories too, of especially local businesses. People just don't do it. We look at podcasts, we look at other things, and we look up to those people, but they could be right here. They could be your neighbor. Just get your story out there. Tell what you're doing. Be proud of it. Be proud of what you do.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people that I've worked with that I'd love to hear from. Just sit them down for an hour and hear their story. That's what it's all about. Awesome.
Nailed it.